经常我妈老说我爸，我说跟着你倒了一辈子血霉了，没过上个好日子。
This is an epic documentary. I was fascinated learning about the history of the 30,000 Chinese migrants in the 50s sent to the Gobi Desert to mine for iron and steel. I really enjoyed hearing the individual stories of several professionals, such as an engineer, a midwife, a civil servant, and a teacher, and how they are now enjoying their retirement. They all had such tough times during the mining years, but now they spend time with family and take part in hobbies such as photography, cooking, motorbiking, and gardening. Interesting to see the museum based on them and the radio voice listing the big plans for the mine. The old black and white photos tell the tale. They didn't have much in the way of fun or luxury or affection, and were often very in want of food, seeing many colleagues perish at times in the mines. The soundtrack was excellent. There was a lot of gentle piano and guitar, but it really picked up with rock music during the upbeat motorbike scenes. I really liked the wide variety of camera work, of the mining machinery in action, touching close ups of the faces, and lots of great food being cooked.
I loved how they showcased the various generations. One thing I noticed is a continuous theme is the aspect of meals being a way that one generation sort of connects to these older generation through cooking, through making a meal, through eating together. That to me is cross cultural, and throughout several cultures you see that. So it's just very interesting to see that within this culture as well as a way to relate, also relating through holidays. You saw New Year's portrayed and their holidays portrayed, and how the youngest generation relates to the great grandparents through the celebration of these critical family times. Some of my favorite elders that were portrayed, the motorbike guy in particular, and just how cool he is, and how bird watching was just such a major thing for him. The professor who was very adamant on things that you should know. It's just everyone had their very distinct personality traits and their very distinct roles within this community, and I could see those same roles being present even in their elder years, them not losing any aspect of who they were. Another thing I really appreciated was how years later they went to the museum, and he's able to sort of relive his experience in this museum and how it's very much real for him. He's able to relate it back to this other generation. This is the places we lived in, this is what we use, and all those types of things. And just seeing how history is very much present in our lives through our ancestors. I just thought it was such a beautiful love story to the ancestors.
I think it's a great look at these migrants who went to go work these iron mines. And it's not a story that I was ever familiar with, so I think it's really great to have this story be told. And I'm sure there's other people who are similar to me and didn't know about this. I think the pacing was really great, and I think it's really great that a lot of the people who participated in this great migration are still around and were able to tell their stories, and um, how they've retired, and you get this really full encapsulating timeline. I think you did a great job of presenting the facts and how it affected them throughout time. And also, I think it's always great to have in a documentary these firsthand accounts. It adds a lot of credibility. So I really want to commend you for tracking down and sourcing people who were there and experienced it, and getting their varied opinions and views on the Great Migration and mining and everything, and retelling it to us. But great camera work, laid out everything efficiently, effectively.
Thought it was fascinating. I really felt like I was transported to this city, like as a tourist. Like I felt like I was almost like on a tour, like getting to know, like almost like on a trip, like getting to know like the locals for real, and like learning all the history of the city and how it started and where it is now, and all of the people, and how the people have changed the city and how the city has changed the people, and like all of that. Um, Also, I really like the B-roll. Oh my goodness, this B-roll. excellent. Like it was not just catch. It gave the feeling of catch, like catch these people in the act, catch them in the moment, but it was still intentional, almost like a narrative. The B-roll was. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, but it was still, you could still tell like, oh, this shot is perfect. Like we need a shot of the dude in the room with one light to capture that emotion. Like so, but it was still framed, and it was still gave the vibe of, oh, fly on the wall, like natural documentary, but it was still like intentional. Like, oh, they clearly knew that this was the shot that was needed to get the emotion and to advance the narrative. So this B-roll really rode that line really well.
Documentary was as delightful as it was heart-wrenching at times. Um, I'm definitely glad it exists, if for no other reason than to document the struggle. I think it's important we remember these stories, and this piece does a great job at preserving it. And much more than that, it lets us into this family's life. It feels like we're just a member sitting at the table, listening to the old stories. It reminds me of doing something similar even with my own grandfather. So it felt really near and dear to me, even though it was literally on the other side of the planet. They did a great job at striking that balance between, just presenting the facts, but also really just tugging at the heartstrings. It's really a well thought out and constructed documentary.
I think that they're all very interesting. I really like caring about like how these people got there and the struggles they go through with the hunger and like where they are now. Are they able to get whatever food they want now? And like, oh, back then it was, I think it was all told very well. And the different people and their stories is just very well told. And yeah, as a nice look into a part of the world you don't really think about, and a part of history that no one really talks about. And I think that's well done about it.